Thanks for joining us for Driven Coast to Coast Car Talk. Today we are talking about perhaps the most important modification you can do to your car, but often overlooked. We have one of the true experts joining us today. All about tires, guys. Let's dig in. So let's get into a bit of the technology side of it. We kind of dug into it a little bit with your last answer there, James. Have you seen some of these crazy new tires that have come out with basically no air and they're weird things like that? What do you think of all that? Where are tires going?
That's a great question. I've been to several of the global, car shows and aftermarket shows. Obviously, I think, I think on here have been to SEMA, being at the Tokyo Auto Salon, and stuff like that, the Geneva show. Technology is always evolving. Airless tires is great. That's the big thing is, tires go flat. And then so they come out with run flat tires. Well, run flat tires came with their whole list of cons as well, too. If they ever go flat in your garage overnight, you got a slow leak in the sidewall bends. It's kind of like a coat hanger. Once you bend it, trying to get it perfectly straight again is really hard. And, if the nature of the puncture can, or alter it, or if you patch it with, the goop that goes in the tires, it can have issues as well. I think there's a future for it for sure. I think in a perfect situation right now, it's in its infancy, but like these airless tires that kind of have a mesh kind of pattern on the rubber. If you're driving in an Alberta road down a dirt road and you get rocks stuck in there, like, is it going to throw the balance off? Is it going to cushion as well if you get a big boulder, stuck inside this mesh and you're going at 100? That thing is obviously going to weight up like a washing machine full of clothes. So, but I think the fact that these companies are trying things, and then there's the whole nitrogen thing and changing types of, of inflation techniques and stuff like that. I do think that tires are evolving as much as the automotive industry is. It may not look like it because when you look at a tire, they're still round, hopefully, and black and have a tread on them. But to see what these companies are doing and the things that they're trying with, again, naturally occurring materials. And there's a big push on tire manufacturers to be creating tires that are more environmentally friendly. Tires are very heavy users of oil. What do you do with tires when they're done? You can't, they're full of metal and steel belts and, Kevlar and all this material and stuff like that. And, Yokohama's made a very conscious effort to come out with our Blue Earth lineup, which is much more environmentally friendly. And Yokohama factories that are, carbon neutral and all that stuff. Tires are so I think the technology of that is just as important as these technologies of creating, airless tires or tires that run on all different types of materials. But it's interesting to see. I think in the last little while, there's been more strides in the last, say, 5 or 10 years than there almost been. And it's like a cell phone. For years, the cell phones were so generic and now they're so evolved. It's like, where do you almost go from here? When's the next cell phone going to come out that people are going to see it and be like, wow, that's unreal. We all had the Nokia brick at one time you could throw out against a wall and pick it up and it worked, so. But it's very interesting. There's a lot of R&D. There's a lot of stuff that is created. I've seen tires that, were ready, that I think that should have been released to the market that ultimately didn't because of something. And safety and traction, again, what do you do? Do these freeze up in the wintertime when it's minus 40 out here? What do you do when it doesn't ride like that, or the compounds or the characteristics that the tire needs are no longer working the way they're supposed to?
Yeah. Yeah. And does it concern you? I mean, switching a bit of gears here, but does it concern you that you're seeing all these different types of tire manufacturers come out? A lot of it seems like every day I see a new tire from China or, or Korea,
Never heard
right?
of them before.
Yeah.
One of the things that kind of blew my mind when I was at SEMA was not the SEMA show, but it was the other consumer show next door to it.
Apex, right? Or
it were these companies that come, and if Mark, if you wanted to walk in and say, look, I want to start a suspension company,
right?
They'll just start pearl and steel.
Take your logo and stamp it on something.
That's
you can
it.
sell. Yeah.
And I think we've all seen those. It's almost too good to be true. When a good set of 35-inch rims and tires for a truck, is 10 grand. And that you see these little shops that are like, hey, we'll do a 35-inch wheel and tire package for $1,200. It's like, hey, if you want to trust your $100,000, 2,500 Dodge diesel, whatever, to that, there's definitely some concern. We've also seen evolution of these tier 3 products, that have grown. And I think, there's probably many people that are watching and listening that have said, listen, I've run a set of Westlakes or GT radials or Salins, that, maybe years ago were almost a laughable tire, but have since taken their time, got discontinued tires or learned, it's imitation is a form of flattery, right? That they hire, former employees or CEOs or designers and engineers that have said, listen, this is how you take a tire and get it to, and I believe that there is a place in the industry for tier 3. And, now we're even seeing tier 4 tires, that for people, exactly, as Jeff had mentioned, if you're a kid that's working who's 17 years old with a 2000 Civic, and it's like, well, I'm not going to go and put some, a Michelin Pilot Sport 4S on there. I need a tire. I need 4 tires, and my budget is, $400 all in with install. There is a place for it. But I also believe that there are some tires that are being released into the market that are dangerous, and do not have reliability, and they're a flash in the pan for, they're here for a year or two and then they disappear. And, we've all seen them at some tire shops, and it's just like, geez, but it's hard because, consumers are consumers. I don't play any musical instrument. If I walk into a store and I see a piano for $500 and there's a grand piano for $500,000, I'm like, well, why do I need that when I can just get this one? It looks the same. It won't necessarily sound the same, but I don't know any different. And I think there is some danger to some of these tires that are being released to the market.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that, Jeff? Would you ever put one of these no-name brand tires out there?
I wouldn't. I don't know if that makes me a snob or what. I like, and for me, I'll give you the one piece of advice that I've carried with me my whole life. There's 2 things you never cheap out on: tires and meat. And I believe that, James, you were talking about that there's 2 inches touching the road. Like that's it.
Yep.
And you can have all the computers, all the safety gear, everything in the world, but if you shortchange the tires, you're fucked.
Yeah. And if you hit a blowout, like exactly, all the safety in the world ain't going to save you.
So, to me, I wouldn't do it. I think that, it's worth the extra cost for me to have a reputable, known, proven tire on there for my own safety and everyone else's.
Correct.
Yeah.